Hey, I'm here with Ken O'Keefe. Such an interesting person. I don't even know where to start. I mean, honestly, I didn't know who you were about a year ago, but I mean, watch some of your speeches, reading up, looking at some of the stuff you've done, and it's you've done so much crazy stuff. But let's start out something that I find really fascinating is you actually lived in Palestine for a while, both the West Bank and Gaza. I tried going to Gaza when I was there, and the IDF was not really having it. I really wish I just would have ignored them and snuck off by myself, but they're pretty much, I wouldn't say they physically stopped me, but they made it very, very difficult. They wouldn't drive me. They kept saying, no, you can't go down there, because I really wanted to see what was going on. So how the hell did you end up there, and what was it like?
Yeah, it's not easy. You know, funny enough, most people aren't trying to get to Gaza. You know, like, especially now. I don't think people are like, oh, let's go to Gaza.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Z's Political Arrow. My name's Z, and today we got Mr. Ken O'Keefe, and I share with you his podcast with Jake Shields. Ken O'Keefe's story is nothing short of remarkable, and his experiences living in both West Bank and Gaza offers a unique perspective on the realities faced by Palestinians. A year ago, I hadn't fully explored his work, but after watching his speeches and learning about his efforts, I was fascinated by his journey. His experiences highlight how restricted and controlled access to Gaza really is, a place where most people aren't eager to really visit right now, especially given its current state. The region has become almost uninhabitable due to the continuous conflict, blockade, and destruction of essential infrastructure, making it a challenging and dangerous destination. Today, let's dive in together and share Ken's first-hand insight, helping us better understand why Gaza's situation is so dire and why, for many, it's considered not worth taking the risk going there ever again.
But there was something pulling me before Gaza. Something pulled me to Palestine, and you've mentioned, you know, they don't really want you to go to the West Bank or Gaza. They don't.
They really don't want you to go.
No, and I know exactly why. Having lived in the West Bank and Gaza, if you meet these people, I guarantee anyone who would be so blessed to be able to go to either one. Gaza's even harder, but the West Bank now is a bloodbath as well. If you do, I guarantee anyone who goes in good faith with good heart, you will be transformed. These people will stun you because the reality of what they are and what they stand for, descendants of Jesus and all, in contrast to what we are told about these people, will blow your mind. And I'm Irish, so the Irish are known, like, our hospitality is legendary.
Yeah.
It's why do the Irish and the Palestinians have such a connection? We both know genocide very well. The British tried to genocide us for 800 years. There was no potato famine. They stole all the potatoes. They starved us. They wanted that for their second island over there. They got a piece of it in Northern Ireland. But my DNA has in me an inbuilt sort of resentment and commitment to fighting any form of oppression or supremacism, and certainly genocide, especially of my own people. So there's this connection between the Palestinians and the Irish and all other oppressed people, but definitely with the Irish and the Palestinians. Getting into Gaza was not easy, and I attempted. There's many stories about how I first tried in 2005. That's a story in itself. I was explaining this to a brother earlier today. But I finally made it to Gaza on a trip from the Free Gaza mission, where we had two boats, and I literally worked on these two boats for 3 months in Greece, prepping them. I'm a captain, so I was a captain of one of the two boats, and that was the first time in 41 years anybody had managed to sail into Gaza. Now, keep in mind,
You sailed into Gaza?
we sailed into Gaza, and
Extremely dangerous, I imagine. Israel could potentially shoot you. And
no, literally, for me, you know, I've got a Marine mentality. You know, I'm a Patrick Henry kind of guy. Give me liberty or give me death. I'm a Malcolm X kind of guy. When he was asked, what is the price for freedom? The price for freedom is death. And if you aren't willing to pay that price, then don't use that word in your vocabulary. This is my thinking. This world is unacceptable. I don't know how unacceptable became acceptable, but unacceptable to me is unacceptable. And I would rather die in the fight than sit by and be an observer in this literal fate of World War III that we're sitting here on the verge of right now.
yeah, watching this past war, you know, on a lot of these telegraph channels, it's been really hard this past year watching this. It's just been every day waking up and just seeing dozens of dead kids and just brutal. And then you see the Israeli pages when they're laughing and mocking them. I just saw yesterday they're doing boat tours in Israel where they're going out and laughing at the kids getting blown up and talking about how they're going to take the land. It's just like, I just never seen evil like this in my life. It's hard to believe this is real. I think it's really woken a lot of people up in the last year.
That is of disgust and relentless. You know, the killing of children, destruction of homes, and public celebrations of these atrocities highlight a shocking disregard for human life. Such a behavior, driven by a ruthless agenda of occupation and suppression, is not only morally indefensible, but also a stain on humanity, calling for an urgent global condemnation and accountability.
It really has, yourself included. And, you know, having been there 21 years ago, first time, and then living in Gaza, imagine how it has felt for me, knowing that this is happening, and that the world is paying no attention, and even the Arab nations are all abandoning their Palestinian brothers and sisters. These people are the descendants of Jesus, of Nazareth. That's Palestine. It's in the Bible. And yet the world is turning their back on them. I have said over and over, Gaza is coming to you. And it is. People think that we're always going to have food in the shops, we're always going to have fuel at the petrol gas station, we're always going to have water running from the tap. Guess what? The Palestinians don't have any water because they bombed all their water supplies. They've cut off all supply lines for food. They have locked them into a prison of which they cannot escape, and they bomb them, telling them, go over here, it's safe. They go over there, bam, they get bombed. They're on the beach now where there's nothing. They're living in the sand on the beach, trying to squeak by with little ramshackle tents, and yet they bomb them there too. They've been doing it in the last few days. They're not stopping.
Yeah, and you've actually seen this with your own eyes. You weren't there during the peak of a war, but they're still doing it, correct? They're still killing people. And
I was there in 2008. I was there in 2010. My job, actually, I'm an actual journalist, and I didn't do it for money either. I mean, I have a problem with, like, sitting down and hearing somebody talk about a story where half their family has been murdered. They're lying next to the corpses of the bodies of their loved ones. They're going out with white flags trying to get help from the medical services to help the family members that are still dying. When you listen to people tell these stories, do you think they want to keep recounting this story daily?
No.
No. And am I going to make money off of this for you to tell me your story? So I was living in
You're
Gaza.
Lose a lot of money off it. I've lost a lot of money by speaking out against Zionism.
Yeah. What I've done is a choice. I've talked about this before, but I actually took a sort of unwitting vow of poverty. I equated in my younger years that if I was doing this truth-telling stuff, but it was profit motivated, that it would diminish the integrity or the value or the humanity, the noble qualities. So I really over and over and over again, even when I was rescuing green sea turtles in Hawaii as a dive instructor, I could have sold that footage for money. What was more important to me was to have all the media report the story, and over time I was able to get them to manipulate the story, and that led to the creation of a marine sanctuary. But I could have made money. I didn't monetize any of this stuff because I genuinely have a commitment to truth and justice. This is my commitment. Peace, that's the end of the truth and justice process. I'll die, thank you very much, before I will bow to your shit and allow myself to live a good life while, there's 20,000 dead kids in Gaza?
Yeah, at least minimum. I mean, Lancet saying potentially 200,000 dead people. And
Really?
That's the most prestigious medical journal in the world.
The Lancet. I said that on an interview recently. Like, they tried to catch me. Well, do you accept Hamas figures? Well, how about we just look at the Lancet?
Yeah, that's the most prestigious journal in the world.
And they're English. So, you got a problem with the Lancet? So where are you getting your numbers?
Because there's so many missing that they're not counting in the dead. If you're missing in Palestine, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
Because like the Gaza Strip, what is it? It's like 3 or 5 miles long and like 20 miles long. It's like in a prison. They're engulfed in there and they're just being bombed. They have nowhere to go. People are like, oh, just leave. But they literally have nowhere to go. They're just being slaughtered.
You know what? I'm here in Vegas, and you have helicopter tours and stuff, right? So you watch these helicopters go by, and I've known this for a long time. You know what happens to the children in Gaza when they hear a helicopter?
They know they're about to get bombed.
They have a trauma. It's built in, and it's absolute. It's not paranoia. They know at any point a missile could come, a bomb could drop, and they could be done. There are children in Gaza, going way back before all this, that wet their beds at night. Imagine, because they're in such abject terror, imagine being a father, right? Imagine this. Your father.
We're both fathers, so we know how. That's
Yes.
why this affects us so much, I think.
Imagine being a father in a place like Gaza. One, The way that you feed your kids is through aid. There is no jobs. They've been cut out. They have no infrastructure, nothing to be. They're such educated people. They value education far more than the Americans do. If they were allowed to take their scholarships, they have Rhodes scholarships and all sorts of stuff, but they can't get out. Imagine being a father. You're not able to get. I know doctors that are janitors going back over a decade ago because there's nothing available. And imagine not being having the ability to be able to provide for your family.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling as a father.
And combine that with you can't protect them. Can you tell your child it'll all be okay?
No,
you can, but it's not actually true. You kind of have to look to God then because, and this is what the Palestinians have. I swear, and their enemy is the antithesis of godly. If anything, they're satanic, which would explain what they're doing. The Palestinians, and they're not all Muslim, by the way. There's a Christian population.
They bombed the Christian churches already.
The oldest Christian church in the world was in Gaza, and all of the Christians, not all of them, but many of the Christians took refuge. And what did Israel do? They bombed them, killed them all. So they don't want any Christians there. They want people to think they're all Muslims.
Because Americans might see that and relate more, so they potentially kill the Christians.
That's right.
Another thing I want to add is, like I said, you can't protect your kid, but not only are you getting killed, there's a good chance you're going to get buried alive and die a 3 or 4 day death being crushed or having your legs crushed. Most of them aren't dying nice deaths. They're getting like an arm blown off and they're buried alive, stuck under there for days. You can hear them screaming. You know, it's hard to watch those videos. I can't go every day and check because it's just you see these videos. People are screaming down there. They're coming out, missing arms. It's not just that you're going to die and be over with. You're going to die a brutal death. And when they arrest people, you know, they're torturing them, sodomizing them.
It's diabolical. You've lost all humanity. If you feel this way, I mean, listen, as a Marine who's been in a war, I remember, you know, the thinking of my, comrades, my fellow Marines, and we have terms like sand nigger or towel head and things. So you dehumanize your enemy. This is par for the course. So I saw that, and I can honestly say that I wasn't infected with that ideology, but I definitely went to that war thinking like I'm a Marine, I'm a machine gunner, infantryman. You know, if we're going to get into any firefights, if we're going to be the ones. The Marines are the first ones in, last ones to leave. But the dehumanization of the Palestinians on behalf of the Israeli side is the next level, boy. This is they've called them human animals.
Yeah, all kinds of things like that. They're very clear they want to kill them all, and they're very clear they want to take their land. They don't, in Israeli media, they don't hide it. In U.S. media, they do. But if you watch the Israeli media, they're very clear they plan on taking the land. They constantly show pictures of Greater Israel, which Greater Israel is it's just. Let me you explain. Why don't you explain? I think you can explain Greater Israel better than me.
Well, funny enough, the war that I was in 1991 was part of the Greater Israel Project. So I was in the 1990-91 Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Our job was to liberate Kuwait. But the truth of the matter is that our job was to hit Iraq. Now, Iraq was target number 1 in the Greater Israel Project. So for those who don't know what that is, this is a long-standing plan. Oded Yanan's A Strategy for Israel in the 1980s. I recommend people look that up, read it themselves. Oded Yanan's A Strategy for Israel in the 1980s. It lays out very clearly, like the Project for a New American Century, which lays out before 9/11 the need for a, quote, new Pearl Harbor a year before 9/11 happened. Wow, that worked out well. So Greater Israel is the plan of Israel. The intention is for them to be the next empire. They're imploding America right now. Anyone who thinks that America is in a good state right now,
yeah, it's an idiot. Everyone knows someone's imploding it. They just don't know who.
Right. The reason why this country is being imploded, and all Europe is like, oh my God, it's been a bastardized prostitute for Israel. The whole lot of it. Canada, Australia.
Well, you can't become a German citizen unless you pledge allegiance to Israel now.
Literally. And the Germans...
Yeah, German makes no sense. I mean, Trump's probably going to try to pass some laws like that too, it seems like.
The Germans are flipping the bill for so-called Holocaust survivors to this day.
Yeah, and they keep growing the amount of survivors.
Wait, he must not have done a very good job if they're all alive. Like, what the hell happened there? Anyway, that's a whole other story. But Greater Israel is the plan for Israel, which is obviously we see Israel on the map. We saw Netanyahu go to the United Nations.
Isn't that a conspiracy? They wear this on their uniforms. It's the map. If it takes up pieces of what is it? Is it Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and they literally
Not Iran, but
sorry,
Iraq,
yeah, you know better than me.
Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Saudi, and part of Egypt.
It's the land they openly plan on taking.
So for those Americans don't know geography very well, but nonetheless, look at a map and you'll see it. Up in the north through Iraq is the river Euphrates, which is drying up. That's another subject. Anyway, from the river Euphrates all the way down to the river Nile. So it's from the river to the sea, not the river to the sea, which is a different thing. Anyway, this encompasses basically, I believe it's about 7 or 8 times roughly the geographical space that we see. Now, who is the number one impediment to the Greater Israel Project?
The Palestinians.
The
You gotta
Palestinians.
cleanse them first. And that's why everyone's like, why won't any of the neighbors take the Palestinians? It's because they know as soon as they take the Palestinians, their land's next. Everyone, like the right's always like, why don't they take them? Why don't they take them then? It's like they know exactly as soon as they're pushed out, then they start taking more land.
Israel's systematically dismantling Palestinians' lives by cutting off food, water, shelter, leaving families to fend off bombs on beaches and in bombed-out ruins. Imagine a father who can't feed or protect his children, only to watch as they're buried alive under rubble. It's not cruel, it's an orchestrated war crime. Let's not forget, Israel's audacious plan for Greater Israel, a vision stretched across multiple nations, cooked up well before 9/11. They've mapped out their empire like a pizza delivery route, making no secret of their land grab intentions. And while they do this, the world watches in stunned silence, as if they've been hit with a global mute button. The irony? When Palestinians resist, they're labeled as terrorists. But when Israel bombs a refugee camp, it's self-defense. It's a barbaric tale where the villains write the script and the world plays along. Wake up, folks. Gaza's not just a battlefield. It's a warning of what unchecked power can do.
Yes. Yes. And this is why we all, if we knew the truth and understood history, even to a modest degree, what the Palestinians are doing right now, and this is the incredible irony, what they are doing right now is the epic battle against the mortal threat against all humanity. Israel is not just a threat to the Palestinians. First off, there's 22 American service members a day committing suicide since this so-called war on terror, which was instigated by 9/11, which was done by Mossad and traitors within the U.S. government and military. It is a Larry Silverstein, Frank Lowy, Jewish billionaire plot to suck Americans into a war, which we now see the results, 22 American service members a day committing suicide. All the while, when I walk around, if I'm in my dress blues, thank you for your service. You know what would have been thankful? Instead of the veterans coming back and getting doused with drugs, ending up homeless on the streets, destitute, committing suicide, if we actually took care of our veterans. I mean, how American is it to allow our veterans to be...
Legal aliens get better health care than our veterans.
Literally.
Yeah, it's insane.
And who might be behind that? Oh, if we understood a certain element, Barbara Lerner Spector, people should look up her name. She's a Swedish Jew who articulated very, very seriously that Europe had not, this is about probably maybe a decade ago, Europe had not quite fully adopted the multicultural agenda. And furthermore, she said Europe will not survive until it does. The Jews are playing the central role in this multicultural, she says this the Jews are playing a central role, and either the Goyim are going to get lockstep in line with that program or they will not survive. What do we see today? In Sweden, they have the highest rape rate in Europe. Well, let's do the math here. Let's multiculturalize Sweden. Let's bring a whole bunch of military-age, single black Africans over to a country with beautiful blonde Swedish women.
Yeah, rape's going to skyrocket.
I can see the equation here. Now, who is behind that? Barbara Lerner Spector said flat out, if Europe does not accept this multicultural agenda, it will not survive. So are we going to survive by accepting it? And what about our culture? Where is our culture going to go?
It's dying.
Literally.
Who's behind the open borders in America?
Who would
Mayorkas?
stand again? Cui bono, you know?
This guy named Mayorkas, maybe?
Yeah.
I wonder what he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Soros.
Maybe people should look it up. Yeah, Soros, the other guy pushing it.
Really, really. And by the way, I get it. I give credit to my enemies. I mean, respect. That's a clever argument. It sounds really lovey-dovey, hippie, like, hey, we all love each other. We're all equal.
Let's just flood everyone in and give them free medical, free housing, but nothing for you.
And if you don't agree with that, you're a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, maybe, can I have some pride? Am I allowed to be proud and white?
Yeah.
Is that even allowed these days?
Yeah, Wikipedia tried saying you were racist, but we were out with a bunch of blacks and Mexicans last night. Everyone was getting along great, and it seemed completely false, obviously.
No.
It's crazy how they make these accusations of like racism when it's like, no, I treat people equally. That does not make me a racist.
I treat people by the content of the character and the way they act.
Mm-hmm.
And even if somebody, I've said many times, I'll take an honest asshole or a lying nice guy every time. I like them, actually. They're fun.
I think the funny is the reason I have like so many black friends is because I don't sugarcoat shit.
Yeah.
I remember like in San Francisco during BLM, all my friends were just pathetic, kissing their asses. Right. And then they'd see me, who they thought was racist for all the black friends, and they're confused. It's like, yeah, because I treat them like my fucking equal. I'm not out washing their feet, apologizing to them.
No.
They hate these people.
No.
They despise them.
You know how many times I've said to black folk, we're not supposed to say this, but I'm a white nigger.
You're Irish, right? Everyone knows that.
I'm a white nigger. So guess what, black brother? You don't own that word. In fact, we were called white niggers before all you were brought here by the Jewish slave ship owners. We've been dealing with this a long time. And all us white folk aren't the same, are we?
No.
Don't tell me the Irish are the same as the English. No. No, and I'm not casting dispersions on all English. I know a lot of beautiful English people.
There's great people of all races and bad people of all races.
There is. But I'm a Celt. William Wallace, Braveheart. Freedom! I will not accept anything less. And even that story, Braveheart, like, look at that story. The woman he loves murdered, and that just switched. One of the things that has amazed me about Palestine is that if you put Americans through this type of hell, oh my God.
All the Americans always talk about how they'd raise up an army if people come and take their land. Real quick, I want to go into, we were talking about Gaza and West Bank. I think a lot of people are kind of ignorant and don't really know the difference. So Gaza basically is a complete war zone, which Hamas is running. They are just destroying them. But the West Bank, I mean, you probably know more than me, but the West Bank, they're not ran by Hamas. They're trying to do what Israel says and play along. But you know how they're being rewarded? They're sending these people they call settlers, which are terrorists. They go in there, they attack, they beat, they rape, they burn down houses, they cut off the water supplies. They're just constantly just harassing, killing Palestinians. And these are the ones that aren't fighting. So are you going to fight, or are you going to slowly just watch your women get raped and slaughtered and beaten? What would you do?
I know, I've said it over and over, man. You couldn't pay me to be nonviolent. Dude, there is no way. If I'm living here. The problem is, though, that how many family members have been raped and murdered because of the resistance fighter within the family. It goes beyond you. It's not even your personal decision.
They go after your family is what's terrible, because they know that's our weakness. So they go and try to kill your. I mean, the amount of threats I have of rape on me and my family from Israelis is crazy. I've never seen anything like that. And then I start seeing the rape people. I'm like, oh, these people actually want to rape me. They're not just like saying that.
I've had. I can honestly say this, that this is probably about 13 years ago. So I had disarmed the commandos. So they really had a special love for me back then, and. The mother of my children was called up, so they had her number, and the individual who was on the phone, who gave a fake name, whatever, he identified our children, the address she was at, and proceeded to explain how he was going to murder brutally. This is when my children were adolescents. He was going to murder them brutally in front of her before he killed her. Now imagine being a mother. And you're on your phone, which you obviously didn't give this number to this person, and this person proceeds to describe your address, your children, and how he's going to imagine that.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, I think this is how they got Lucas Gage. They started attacking his wife and children, and constantly doing invasions into his house, and it's I think it's put a lot of strain on his marriage.
That's part of why I respect you, brother, because I've always been a fighter myself, and I believe that men, when they have a problem, appropriately, we should step into a ring or an octagon, or if we have to, go to the park. Don't do it on concrete, man. Serious injuries can happen there. But we settle our issues, and generally, my experience is, and I'm sure yours is the same. We've talked a little bit before. you end up having to respect.
Yeah, a lot of times you fight people when you become friends is the funny part.
How many fights did you have where you really didn't like the other guy, but at the end of it, you had a respect?
A bunch of times.
Yeah.
A bunch of times. It
Yeah.
happens a lot, both street fights and cage fights.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
I became good friends with people of street fights and cage. George St. Pierre became good friends with us after we fought. Amazing guy. You know George, right?
Oh, I
Such
love
a good
him.
guy.
Yeah.
We became good friends after.
Yeah, and I don't think he did do steroids. I think the guy has to be considered the
he's
greatest.
Probably,
man.
I think he's the greatest of all time. So to go in there and to have gone a 5-round war with GSP, that's just even though I lost that fight, that was still such an amazing memory.
Yeah. What was that? How'd the fight end?
It was a close decision. It was I won the last 2 rounds. He won the first 3. It was a correct decision. Some people try saying I won because I bloodied his face up a lot more, but that's not how you score fights. A lot of times the fans just see he looks all up and I don't, so like you won. But he definitely in my opinion, he won the first 3 rounds. And like a ton of fans try to say I won, but I think it was the right decision.
You're a humble man. That's it.
But it's just the way it scored. It was correct. It's because he had a ton of damage done to him, so that's why the fans were seeing. But you score each round individually, and that's just how the fight's scored.
I love talking to you about UFC. We've talked about some stuff before. When I look at John Jones as opposed to GSP, it's no, dude, no compare. I'm sorry.
Yeah, John
Jones.
Jones had been in so much dumb shit. But I saw him a couple weeks ago, and he was sober, doing so much better, and he was like so friendly and nice. So I don't want to say anything bad about John. He came over, gave me a hug, and he was like sober. I'm like, the funny thing is, we took a picture. I was drinking, he wasn't. And he's like, God damn it, I look drunk in the picture. And he did was the funny part. I posted it, and people were like, take his keys.
I can't take anything away from the guy. I mean,
he's amazing.
He's amazing. That 84-inch reach and like, oh my God.
He's done some dumbass shit, but I still like the guy, man. He's always been good to me. He's done some dumb fucking shit. That's just the truth of the matter.
Well, I think when you get that level of fame and money, in itself, if you can survive that.
And he got a lot of fame and money. A lot more than me. The fame and money I had to get pretty crazy for a second. The chaos, the women, the party, and you can get sucked into that lifestyle pretty easy.
Yeah, really. I think that, and these, funny enough, these are the seductions of Satan. You can be tempted down a path. Not only will you demean or diminish your integrity or nobility, but you also can get caught. In fact, we talked about this. You went to Israel. This is not, it's becoming more commonly understood. The honey trap, they ply you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I mentioned the podcast before, but I felt like they tried to get me in a honey trap. And at the time, I was totally clueless because I didn't know they did that. I wasn't that famous. It didn't really make sense. They didn't get everyone. They just threw this young girl on me. Said she was 18. She was beautiful. She's kissed me, making out, and then they're trying to push me to go into a room with her. And it just my instincts just something was fire, and like something wasn't right. Something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think she was underage. I didn't think it was a honey trap. Just I could tell something wasn't right, and I always trust my instincts, so I didn't do it. I don't like people trying to push me into sex or anything either, so I'm just like, nah, I'm not doing that. And looking back, I'm like, I think that was it was at one of the parties or one of those IDF guys' houses. You're like, I bet that was I think they just get blackmailing everyone. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this girl was 15 or something. Now you're tweeting out Israel is our greatest ally. You're going to be like RFK.
Yeah.
Because RFK clearly doesn't believe it.
Well, I think that ties into when we look at all these politicians, especially in the face of this real-time genocide that we see playing out, and yet nothing has changed. Nothing. At no point over all of this have they at least said, okay, nothing. The only thing that explains that to me would be either you are blindingly stupid, that you can't see this, everyone else can, or you are compromised. So how would you be compromised? Maybe the AIPAC money, maybe the honey traps, maybe the Epstein, Lolita Express. How many of these people are so compromised that they will do and say anything and everything they are told by their master? And who is their master? Well, the message they are saying seems to be lockstep in line with the Jewish state of Israel.
It's a wild ride when you start diving into these conversations, right? There's a mix of dark, cynical humor, some real talk about the struggle of veterans, and a healthy dose of skepticism about who's pulling the strings. By the end of the day, if you want to navigate through this mess, sometimes you got to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Like when people use "thank you for your service" as one-size-fits-all band-aid, while the reality for veterans is often much darker. And when it comes to geopolitics, it's like walking through a minefield of who's funding funding what, who's benefiting from chaos, and how the narrative gets spun. It's no wonder that trying to untangle these webs often leaves you with more questions than answers. All this mess, let's not forget what really matters: treating people as equals and calling out hypocrisy when you see it. Whether it's war, politics, or personal relationships, it's all about standing up for what is right while trying to keep your sanity intact. Keep fighting the good fight, but don't forget to laugh at the absurdity. Z checking out. Please share, like, and subscribe. Catch y'all on the next one. Bye for now.